Next up, we have Rigamortus, one of my faves on the album. I believe that this song is speaking about and to Drake. I think it's interesting now that we are able to go back to Kendrick's work. Like I said, he's been setting this up from the beginning. We are able to go back now and kind of have this song as like the final wrap up, I guess you could say. Rigor mortis is the third stage after death, and it's when your body starts to stiffen before it decomposes. So, in the intro, Kendrick says, "All right, here we go, third take. Real quick, Ali." And Ali is in reference towards Mixed by Ali, whose real name is Derek. And I believe this song was produced by him. But then we get into the chorus. Kendrick says, "Got me breathing with dragons. I'll crack the egg in your basket, you bastard. I'm Marilyn Manson with madness." So, this first line, he's just saying, his raps are fire. He spits fire. Dragons normally, spit fire when they are breathing. Fire is also hot. And a lot of times, like in the Black community, when someone says, like, oh, they got me hot, it means like they had me mad, they had me upset. Dragons also come from eggs, so he says, "I'll crack the egg in your basket, you bastard." I put here, it's kind of that take on the saying, "Don't put all of your eggs in one basket." And so I think he's trying to tell Drake here, Drake placed all of his eggs, he left acting to put all of his eggs into rapping, and really the one egg he had to get into the industry was his connections and his ethnicity, his ethnic background, being a Black Jew, well, a mixed Jew, I guess you should say. And so Kendrick is saying, like, I cracked it. I broke through it. I brought it down. Also, only uses one egg. He doesn't say, "I'll crack the eggs in your basket." He says, "I'll crack the egg," kind of indicating that Drake only has one skill, and that skill is acting, and he should have just stayed in that. He mentions Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson was accused of psychologically and actually abusing women. He's also a rock artist. His name kind of combines two people from totally different spectrums, one being Marilyn Monroe and the other being Charles Manson, who was, a serial unaliver, whereas Marilyn Manson, was or not Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe was, this beautiful model actor, and we know that Kendrick is always using this two-faced, two-side sort of back and forth in his. Now just imagine the magic I light to assess. Don't ask your future rapper, or don't ask for your future rapper. He dead, yes sir. Amen. Church. He dead. I killed him. Amen. B. The magic he is referring to here is, his music. We'll get that will change the way we look at Drake and, other MCs. So again, Kendrick is kind of telling us here that he's going to go on to try and do that, in which he does. And then he says, don't ask for your favorite rapper. He's dead. I killed him. And here, obviously, I believe he's talking about Drake, but it could be whatever other MC. Verse 1, Kendrick says, "And this is rigor mortis, and it's gorgeous when you die." So again, rigor mortis is the stage, kind of the end of the cycle of your life, the very end. It's when your body starts to stiffen before it decomposes. Ollie recorded, and I'm Morpheus, the matrix of my mind. Well, Morpheus is the son of Hyphos, who is the god of sleep, and he sends human shapes to the dreamer. But Morpheus is also a character in The Matrix, the movie, and in the movie, Morpheus offers Neo either a blue pill or a red pill to live in the world. So the blue pill represents like this world of illusion and the red pill represents like the harsh reality of life. And so I think here, he's saying Ali recorded the song. Kendrick is the one here to present to not only Drake, but us as well. The, red and blue pill, the red pill being this reality of what's really going on behind the scenes in the industry and who Drake really is. Or the blue pill, in which, we are in this Delulu land and, are unaware of what the truth is. So I think here he's kind of presenting that to us, but also kind of talking about how he could be in his mind about even going, about even doing this. I'm out the orbit, you an orphan and a hairdresser combined. I'm on the toilet when I rhyme. If you the ish, then I decline. The way that I kind of interpreted this line, Kendrick is saying he's out of this world and calling, Drake an orphan, orphan being, you don't have parents or you're not from a certain place. And so I think he's trying to say that Drake is not from the culture. He wasn't like grandfathered into the culture. He didn't have parents that were in the culture, or, you know, his dad wasn't around really when he was younger and growing up to kind of show him the African American, or not African American side of him, but the black side of him. And so, he's just not a part of the culture. And when he says I'm on the toilet when I rhyme, he's just kind of saying like, even when I am, doing things like being on the toilet, or, I'm still good. And so if they're saying you're the ish, then I decline that. Like, you're not the shit. I climax where you begin, and then I end on cloud nine. And that's important when you morph into an angel in the sky. Climax is also to finish. So he's kind of saying here, I finish where you begin, and I still come out on top. When he says I end on cloud nine, remember back in Euphoria, part of the, definition, meaning that the feeling that you get, after you have in the big O, often feels like you're on cloud nine. And that's important when you morph into an angel in the sky. And don't be forging all my signatures, my listeners reply. And I think what he means here is like when you're forging something, obviously you're stealing somebody else's stuff. I think he's saying like, don't be trying to jock my stuff and steal my signature things and kind of implement certain things like you have been doing into your music. And tell me that you bite in style, you got a hell of an appetite. And I'm gonna be here for a while. Just buckle up before the ride. So I think he's trying to, tell Drake here, like, buckle up and get ready to go on this ride with me because we're going.
Just imagine the magic I like to ask is don't ask for your favorite rapper. He did. Yes, sir. Amen. Church. He did. I killed him. Amen.
Following up on the line where he says, and that's important when you morph into an angel in the sky, he's also talking about when you die. That's the imagery around that. You morph into an angel in the sky. And of course, the song is talking about the process after you die. A suit and tie is suitable and wait, hold on. Or knuckle up if you can fight. We always make 'em duck or die. A suit and tie is suitable and usual in suicide. CSI just might investigate this effing parasite. He did. Amen. So he's saying here, like, knuckle up, meaning battle me back. If you can fight. And, he then says, like, Drake is always throwing shots. We always make him duck or die. And Kendrick always throws shots back and makes sure that, Drake knows that he's not just going to let it slide. He's going to engage in the battle. Suit and tie is suitable and usual in suicide. One, Kendrick is always kind of speaking about when you unalive yourself, in like comparing it or pairing it with the analogy of dressing up. But this is also reminiscent of if I gotta slap, make it look sexy. Because, when you have a suit and tie on, normally you look a little bit more polished and sexy. Everybody loves a man in a suit. But suit and tie could also reference towards a noose, in which, sometimes is used to unalive yourself. Like how he says, CSI just might investigate this effing parasite. So this could be obviously in reference towards Drake, but it could also be a reference towards, Diddy as well. And I put, this is another Feds reference, and he just keeps putting in these little Easter eggs for us to find about working with the Feds or the feds investigating Drake. He says, "That's what they telling me. Aim it at your celebrity. This is studio felony." So he's just saying here, like he be in the studio killing these rappers. Ferragami, so many and cool enough for the 70s. So Ferragami are like old fashioned Italian shoes. It's like a shoe line. Um, and so again, just kind of painting this picture of being like well polished while also committing, atrocities in the music sense. Leave them all, or in paybacks a B, and a B you been living in debt with me. Dead 'em all, and especially leave a call on his mother voicemail that say that he rest in peace. Big Chopper, the recipe. So, Big Chopper is a gun, and he's just kind of saying here, like, to take down a rapper, you need to have the bigger gun. You need to have the bigger, better, I guess, skill set. He's also telling Drake, payback's a B, and you have done things that leaves you in debt with me. And so you're gonna feel that, and he prolonged this throughout the years. I like how he also says, leave a call on his mother voicemail. And then we got Meet the Grams, in which he sits Sandra down to talk to her. Wrestling, that's irrelevant. Rather rest at your residence. Whistling to the melody. Couldn't think of a better D. So in this first part, he's saying, wrestling, nah, I'm gonna stake out your house. I'm a rest at your residence. And then I put here for think of a better D. So D, I feel like here means Drake's career, music, and you know he came into it a little bit more singing than rapping. He was kind of like a Bryson Tiller type. Your beat on your P and Q is just me, J Rock, Soul, and Q. So these are all the other TDE rappers, and he's saying like y'all better just be paying attention and have your stuff together. Solar System and Barbecue, nothing else you can do. So here he's saying, we're out of this world. We have out of this world bars, but are also like relevant to the culture. Like that's kind of how I thought of that. When you have Solar System and Barbecue, out of this world, thinking and bars, but still in the culture and still resonating with the culture. And we get into the chorus. After the chorus is verse 2. Kendrick says, I rapped him and made him Casper. I capture the likes of NASA. So Casper is the friendly ghost. So he's just saying, I made him a ghost. I unalived him, wrapped him, and made him a ghost. I made him disappear. NASA is the National Aeronautics Space Association. um, and so I feel like he's saying here, like, I'm a little bit outlandish. I'm a star. My pedigree to fly past ya, I'll pass the weed to the pastor. So the definition of pedigree is the recorded ancestry of someone's family, like tree, especially that of the upper class. So I think he's saying here, I'm going to be of that level, and that I'm going to be able to pass that wealth down. We all are sinners. Won't you send us to Bible study faster? Your hypocritus reaction, a blasphemy. I assassin my casualty. Kendrick is able to kind of realize that everybody's kind of a hypocrite in a way in the religion, in the industry, kind of what we're starting to realize, now. Obviously, he had kind of a first hand view on it and was able to have this awakening way earlier than we were. But these pastors who are supposed to be so holy and, everything, 9 times out of 10 are very far from that and inflicting a lot of pain and abuse on people. And it's casually done, and tell him my salary come. And so that's what he's saying. Like, it's literally done right in front of our eyes. And just like casually, as if this is an everyday thing. Also, this line back towards like the whole taking down of Drake and other rappers. He's saying I did it casually. He didn't have to, do this big thing. It was just like, I'm gonna drop this, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna drop this, I'm gonna leave. And it seemed so effortless. Lump sum 100s, don't talk to me about no money. The sun is under my feet and I come in peace to compete. So, he's saying you gotta pay me for the job that I've done to take down these rappers. When he says the sun is under my feet, he's so out of orbit, he's so fire that the sun is beneath him. And then, I come in peace is a saying that's often associated with aliens. Kendrick often associates himself with just being an alien, like being out of this world, things like that. Even in the song, he's already done it, multiple times, but all throughout his work, he does. Don't run if you'd rather leap. My statistics go up in weeks. And I go visit the nearest creek and I get busy on mini MC. So he's kind of just describing, his work, and if we're gonna compete, my statistics are gonna go up in a week. My numbers are gonna go up fast. When he says I go visit the nearest creek, I imagine him spending time in nature and really honing in on how he's gonna, battle other people. Really ballistic, anybody can see, any assistance, everybody deceased. So here he's just kind of describing wrapping up the bodies, getting rid of them. Um, Ballistics being like a gun reference. Some persistence, recognize I be, really too vicious, the permanent beast. So, Kendrick has always been consistent in Kendrick has always been really consistent in his hate. um but not even just like the hate and the distaste he has for Drake, but also consistent in the way that he approaches his work and the tactics that he uses to battle, his peers. And the demolition, breaking up the street, better partition, better dot your T. So a partition it means to divide into parts. It's often, if you I always like, a song always pops in my head when I have say certain words. So immediately, of course, I'm thinking driver roll up the partition, please. And a partition in a limo is like what separates you from the driver. And so I think Kendrick is trying to say here to Drake, you need to separate and divide yourself from the way that you are currently going through life, and get on a different path. Better dot your T. So again, with the dotting your T's and dotting your I's and crossing your T's, but also kind of a reference towards his nickname K Dot. And I go and mention how the far you see, putting my D in the rap industry. So he's effing the game. Everybody bitching, getting mad at me. Recognize Kendrick in the battery. And I'm charged up, and the catastrophe is charged up, and the audacity of y'all F's never could hassle me, and y'all luck just ran out. You'll see. And so then he says, or he's kind of describing that he's charged up and ready for battle. And then we end with the chorus. The end of Rigamortus. Like I said, it's just so cool to now go back, through Kendrick's music, and this kind of be like the final nail in the coffin of how he set this up throughout his career and how he has used his music to plant those seeds in us and, try to get his message across. And then the sample from Rigor Mortis is the Thorn Willie Jones III from 2009.